Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel Sparkle English, where I teach you how to improve your level of English. This is a new video in my English Writing Essentials series. Today I am going to teach you all about ellipses. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my channel for more videos like this one teaching you how to improve your writing skills and use punctuation marks. So what is an ellipsis? An ellipsis is a set of 3 periods. So this here is an ellipsis. Ellipses is the plural form of ellipsis. So here we have ellipses. There are 3 different ellipses. Sometimes you hear people say ... and they mean an ellipsis. One dot is called an ellipsis point. Ellipses are also known as suspension points. So when do we use an ellipsis? There are multiple uses for ellipses. We use ellipses to indicate words have been omitted or removed from a phrase or paragraph. We can also use ellipses to indicate a pause in speech or trailing off into silence. So first of all, let's talk about using ellipses to replace omitted words. This is very common if you have to write an essay in school or university, or if you are writing an article. Ellipses are often used to reduce the length of a quoted sentence, speech, or paragraph. The portion replaced by an ellipsis must not change the meaning of the quote. So, for example, here is a quote by Martin Luther King Jr. 50 years ago, a great American, in whose symbolic shadow we stand today, signed the Emancipation Proclamation. Now, let's say you want to quote this, but you don't want to quote the entire paragraph. We can use an ellipsis to replace a portion of the quote that we don't want to include. So a shortened quote could be, 50 years ago, a great American signed the Emancipation Proclamation. And this ellipsis right here replaces in whose symbolic shadow we stand today. Removing this does not change the meaning of the quote. So we can use an ellipsis to reduce the length of a quote and make it shorter. Here is another example. Winston Churchill, in one of his famous speeches, said this quote, "We could use ellipses to shorten this. We shall go on to the end. We shall defend our island. We shall never surrender." So in this one, we use 2 different ellipses to replace this as the first one, and this ellipsis replaces this second part. Now this is very important. The portion replaced by an ellipsis must not change the meaning of the quote. For example, here is a quote by Marilyn Monroe. "I don't forgive people because I'm weak. I forgive them because I am strong enough to know people make mistakes." If I shortened this and said, "I don't forgive people, ellipsis, because I, ellipsis, know people make mistakes," this implies that Marilyn Monroe doesn't forgive people. And that is not what she said. So this would be incorrect. It is not correct to use ellipses in this way. However, if we said, "I, ellipsis, forgive people because, ellipsis, I am strong enough to know people make mistakes," this is correct because it does not change the meaning of the quote. So you cannot use ellipses to manipulate the real meaning of the quote. We also use ellipses to indicate hesitation, pauses, or trailing off. Now, this is very common in informal writing or writing in novels, poetry, when you're text messaging your friends or writing emails. For example, we use an ellipsis for hesitation or pauses. Ellipsis. I'm not sure what he said. Shall we go to the beach? I think we should break up. So here we have hesitations, and here is a pause. I think, pause, we should break up. If we don't use an ellipsis here, the sentence is read like, I think we should break up. But the ellipsis indicates a pause. We can also use an ellipsis for trailing off. I love you, but, and that means our sentence is trailing off. We're not finishing the sentence. I can't do this anymore. I just, ellipsis. We're not finishing the sentence. It is incomplete. Or we have more to say and we just don't say it. We can use an ellipsis. You will see many uses of ellipses in novels. Now, if the sentence is considered grammatically complete, we use a period and the ellipsis at the end. If the sentence is not grammatically complete, use only the ellipsis. So I'm going to show you some examples from novels I found in my house of how these authors use the ellipsis. So these two quotes are taken from The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman. And she mumbled, I just play, sort of around the college. Just play, really. Here you can see that this author has decided not to use spaces on either side of the ellipsis, and this is not very common. I'm going to talk about ellipses and spaces next, but the most important thing is to be consistent. In this other quote from the novel The Golden Compass, take it off at once and come help check these glasses. And here you can see that this is the end of a sentence. The sentence is trailing off, but it is a complete sentence. So the author has used an ellipsis plus a period at the end because the sentence is complete. If the sentence ended right here with these and come help check these, that wouldn't be a complete sentence. So it would just have an ellipsis at the end. Here are some other examples from the novel Rachel's Holiday by Marian Keyes. Long hair, huge pair of eyes. Here you can see in this book, this author decided to have a space between every ellipsis point and before and after the ellipsis, whereas Philip Pullman has decided not to use any spaces. What the? Ellipsis, I thought in surprise. She just tried to play God with the lives of the people around her. Ellipsis. Again, you can see the difference between Philip Pullman's style and Marian Keyes' style. Because with him, he decided to use a period after the ellipsis because this was a grammatically complete sentence. Now, Marian Keyes has decided just to use the ellipsis. Even though this is a complete sentence, she has not added a period after the ellipsis. So with ellipses, it's very important to stick to one style guide in all of your writing. That is the most important thing. So as you saw in the last example, different style guides have different rules on how to use spaces with ellipses. The most important thing is to be consistent. I'm going to compare two different style guides and show you how the spacing is different. First, I'm going to show you an example in formal writing when you are omitting words from quotes. This is a quote by Michelle Obama. A president's words have the power to move markets. They can start wars or broker peace. Now, using the Chicago Manual of Style, we could shorten this quote and say, a president's words can start wars or broker peace. And with the Chicago Manual of Style, we have a space before the ellipsis and a space between each ellipsis point. So space, point, space, point, space, point, space. And in the AP style book, a president's words can start wars or broker peace. We have a space and then the ellipsis with no space between each ellipsis point and then a space. Now let's look at an example with hesitation and a pause. I think we should move to a different country. So here again, with the Chicago Manual of Style, we have a space, ellipsis point, space, ellipsis point, space, ellipsis point, space. And with the AP style book, I think we should move to a different country. We have a space, then the ellipsis with no space, as if it's one word altogether, and then a space. So again, the most important thing is to be consistent with your style when you are using ellipses. If you have to do an essay or something where you will be getting a grade, ask your teacher or your professor which style guide you have to follow. But in general, we use ellipses to omit words from quotes, and in informal writing for hesitation or pauses or trailing off in our writing. Okay, thank you guys very much for watching this lesson. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comment section. Make sure to check out my full series on English Writing Essentials, where I talk about all the other punctuation marks. You can click on the link in the description below to watch my other videos on punctuation marks. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next lesson.